The BRICS virtual summit is being convened today by the Brazilian president. The meeting will be focusing on U.S. President Donald Trump's trade policies and efforts by emerging economies to enhance multilateral cooperation. India will be represented at the summit by the External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar. Leaders from China, Russia and South Africa are also expected to participate. The Chinese President Xi Jinping and the Russian President have confirmed their attendance. President Xi Jinping is scheduled to deliver a key address. The meeting coming amid renewed tensions over the U.S. tariffs on BRICS nations and follows recent engagements between China, Russia and India at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. Meanwhile, India and the European Union are holding the 13th round of negotiations for a free trade agreement. The talks aim to strengthen economic ties and enhance market access between the two sides. Two senior EU commissioners are visiting India this week, which coincides with the trade talks. So far, 11 chapters of the agreement have been provisionally closed, including those on intellectual property rights, customs, digital trade, and SMEs or small and medium-sized enterprises. The talks are part of a broader effort to conclude the FTA by the end of this year. India and the EU are also set to release a new strategic vision document on September 17. The document will outline long-term cooperation across trade, technology and security, further engagements including the Trade and Technology Council meeting and a planned summit next year are also on the agenda. And for more on all of this, we have with us Dr. Suyash Bhatt, Director at Academy for Finance, Technology and Innovation. Thanks very much for being here. Let me begin by asking you, what do you make of BRICS' renewed push for multilateralism, especially at a time when there has been so much talk about the U.S. trade policies, especially in response to the U.S. trade policies under Donald Trump?
I believe this shift from globalization to now, deglobalization, which is triggered by Trump tariff, would actually make the BRICS, which was just a concept maybe a few years back, and maybe still there are a lot of talks going on as to what should be the future in terms of having a common currency reply. But I think all of this has got accelerated. BRICS already has 40% of global GDP represented by the BRICS nation, and that's their contribution to the global trade. And we're looking at close to 4.86 trillion US dollars worth of trade happening within the BRICS countries itself. So, and one of the top exporter or the top player within this is China, followed by India, and the third is Brazil. And both India and China have to, or both India, China and Brazil, rather, all three of them have to figure out a way to navigate this tough time because of the Trump tariff. Brazil and India have the highest tariff, and I think China is still under the cooling off period where the tariffs haven't hit them as hard as the other two nations. And I think the bilateral trade is the way forward because maybe currency would be a far-fetched idea, but a bilateral trade, trading in the domestic currency would be the way forward. So if India wants to Brazil, it pays in rupee, and then Brazil wants to import goods from India, it pays in their local currency. And that's how this bilateral trade amongst BRICS countries would be the way forward. Also, it's a step forward to de-dollarization. I know it may take time, but I think what we were expecting may be happening after 5-10 years. This entire Trump tariff has accelerated the whole pace of de-dollarization, and that's why you're seeing India going out and signing free trade agreement with UK now, also with EU.
Let me then ask you, how significant, according to you, is the timing of the BRICS summit, especially after the recent China, Russia, India engagements at the SCO?
Yes, so in fact, the SCO was the right message that was sent to Washington, and I think followed by that, BRICS comes at a very right time. And I think the topic of the meeting also is something apt. It's the disruption caused due to the tariff. And the BRICS nation are actually trying to navigate themselves to make sure that the damage is minimum. And I think that from that perspective, there is a significant, interest globally in what would be the next steps that BRIC countries would come up with. And I think easing bilateral trade even amongst the BRICS country would be a very big step, because we also have oil producing countries like UAE, Saudi Arabia joining the bloc, also Nigeria. So I think that would be the logical way forward. And if you want to insulate yourself from higher tariff, you need alternative markets, and BRICS represents that alternative market. And I think the BRICS, that's why I think PM Modi also renamed.
Believe that the emerging economies can actually build an effective counterweight to the Western-led trade structures then?
Yes, so currently I think there is only one country which is trying to, create havoc in the established rule-based system, which was World Trade Organization and others that was set up by them itself. So yes, to answer this, maybe replacing US may be difficult, but finding an alternative market amongst the BRICS country would be the logical choice. But also, in India, very smartly is also looking at EU, because what do we export to US? It's service and IT, and 81 billion euros worth of services were exported by India last year to EU. So EU is a more logical replacement for India, at least, for saving the Trump tariff havoc that may be unleashed on the economy, to find an alternative for service. And for textile, I think textile and other goods, I think the government has already started the reforms, the GST rate cut. So I think the government, at least in India, is finding a proper way of responding to this. But all this will take time, because even the tariffs are being challenged by the courts in US.
What then are the key takeaways that we can expect from the upcoming India-EU strategic vision document, according to you, especially in terms of trade?
So in terms of, I'm not sure whether they would be able to have a consensus in terms of a common agreement or a kind of a free trade amongst BRICS countries. But yes, through countries like India, Russia, and China, I think they're already trying to navigate and see how, and also Brazil, they're trying to navigate and see how the domestic market can be protected. So finding which goods would be applicable or could be sold in each other's market without taking a hit from the global trade. I think that's what the BRICS countries are looking at. And I think that's what would be the core agenda, as to what would be those sectors amongst which the trade domestically could be increased, whether it's minerals, whether it is rare earth, or whether it is textile or technology. So these are the sectors that primarily you would find a lot of movement amongst these countries to have some kind of movement of goods, also allowing access to each other's market would be the steps that I see would be coming out of this summit.
All right. We'll leave it there for the moment. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.